You know, whenever Chennai Super Kings and Mumbai Indians face off, it's never just another match, is it?
Absolutely not.
That game at the Wankhede, April 20th, it felt massive.
Yeah, proper big game atmosphere. You could just like sense the history. Both teams with those 5 IPL titles each, plus the 2 CLT 20 wins.
It's just huge.
Yeah.
The El Clasico of the IPL, everyone calls it that for a reason.
Totally. And heading into this one, there were these interesting little subplots, weren't there?
Yeah, like Rohit Sharma. Everyone watching MI was wondering, is he going to find that spark again? His form had been a bit up and down.
Right. A player like him, when he's not quite firing, it's always a talking point. And then for CSK, you had Shivam Dube, such a key player for their middle order, but he seemed to be, while struggling a bit recently, to really explode, to find that consistency.
And the Wankhede pitch, it's always part of the story there. Usually great for batting, right? Pace, bounce.
Definitely batsman-friendly, generally speaking.
Yeah.
But it can do things.
Exactly. It can offer a bit for the seamers early on, especially with the new ball, and sometimes later on, a little bit for the spinners too.
It keeps you honest, that surface.
It really does. So yeah, this match ended up being pretty one-sided on the scoreboard, didn't it?
Yeah, a 9-wicket win for Mumbai. Comfortable, you'd have to say.
But the final score doesn't capture everything that went on.
Yeah.
There was a lot happening beneath the surface.
Oh, for sure. Lots of interesting tactics and performances that shaped that result. Where should we start? Maybe with MI's bowling.
Yeah, okay. What really caught my eye was how well they seemed to read those conditions. People were saying the pitch was a little bit tacky.
Holding up just a fraction, maybe.
Right. And the MI bowlers, they just exploited that brilliantly. I was thinking back to when Sunrisers Hyderabad played there earlier.
Yeah.
Mumbai just seemed to get so much more out of that exact same pitch.
That's a really good point. And I think a big part of that was the variety they had.
How so?
Well, you had Bolt swinging it, Bumrah being, Bumrah just relentlessly accurate. And then Hardik Pandya coming in, changing the pace, using different angles. It wasn't just one style of bowling.
Right. It wasn't predictable. Unlike, say, maybe a more one-dimensional attack just hitting the same lengths.
Exactly. That variation, different speeds, different release points, it just kept the CSK batsmen guessing. They couldn't really settle.
Yeah, it really shows how vital a well-rounded attack is, doesn't it? And it reminded me, actually, of what we saw with SRH's batters on this pitch.
What was that?
They really seemed to struggle against, the fuller deliveries early on. Got stuck a bit.
Ah, right. Interesting.
Yeah, it just proves that even on a pitch that should favor the bat, if you bowl smart, if you use any little bit of help the surface gives you, you can put serious pressure on.
Absolutely. Discipline and execution, even subtle variations can make a huge difference.
Totally.
Okay, so the bowler set it up, and then the chase. Well, it was anchored by a very welcome sight for MI fans.
Rohit Sharma finding his touch again. That unbeaten 50, it felt important.
It really did. It wasn't just scratching around for runs. It was fluent.
Yeah, that partnership he had with Suryakumar Yadav, that basically broke the back of the chase.
It did. And you saw glimpses of the old Rohit, didn't you? That effortless timing, those classic shots.
Yeah, the pull shot, the drives, it just looked like him.
After a bit of a lean patch, relatively speaking for him, that innings could be huge. For his confidence, definitely.
And for the team, too, right? A firing Rohit Sharma just changes the whole dynamic of that MI batting lineup.
Oh, completely. It gives them that stability, that experience, that firepower right at the top. Takes pressure off the others.
Yeah, lets guys like Suryakumar, Tulak Varma, Hardik play with a bit more freedom, maybe.
Exactly. If he can build on this, keep this kind of form going, that's a massive boost for Mumbai's chances this season.
No doubt. Huge positive for them.
Okay, but let's switch focus. Even though CSK lost pretty heavily, there was a definite bright spot for them, wasn't there?
Yeah. The debutant, Ayush Mhatre.
Right. A 17-year-old kid from Mumbai making his IPL debut at the Wankhede against Mumbai Indians. Talk about being thrown in the deep end.
Seriously. And what impressed me was just how composed he looked.
Yeah.
I mean, the team was under the pump, losing wickets, and he comes in and plays some genuinely high-quality shots. Didn't look phased at all.
He really didn't. Found the boundary a few times, looked pretty assured out there. For a first game in that pressure cooker,
Wow.
Really encouraging sign, wasn't it? Shows the kind of talent coming through.
It really does. You see someone that young handle that stage, that kind of pressure, and show off that skill. It's pretty special. Definitely one to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for CSK, a team often built around experience. Seeing a young guy step up like that must be, well, really promising for their future plans.
Definitely. Okay, but on the flip side for CSK, We probably need to touch on Shivam Dube's innings.
Yeah. It felt slow, didn't it? It did. Taking 20 balls to get to 20 runs, basically run a ball. In that middle phase, CSK needed some acceleration, and it just didn't quite happen from him then.
And apparently that's been a bit of a theme for him early in his innings this season, finding it hard to kick on straight away.
Yeah, reports suggest he struggled a little to find that immediate gear change,
Which, in T20, can be tough. It puts pressure elsewhere, doesn't it?
It really can. If someone absorbs deliveries without pushing the rate up, especially in those middle overs, it can stall the momentum.
We all know Dube can hit at miles. He's got immense power. But getting through those first few balls quickly, finding the boundary early, that seems to be the challenge right now.
Exactly. That initial acceleration is just so vital, something I'm sure he and the CSK think tank are looking at. They need his power hitting to fire consistently.
For sure. So, yeah, you put all those pieces together. MI's bowling clicking, Rohit finding form.
Chinri showing promise for CSK, but Dube struggling to accelerate.
And it leads to that pretty dominant 9-wicket win for Mumbai. Rohit staying not out at the end, seeing them home. Must have felt good for them.
Oh, definitely. A statement win against their biggest rivals. Shows what they can do when their key players perform and they execute their plans well.
Sends a bit of a message to the rest of the competition, I guess.
It does. Now, thinking bigger picture, this rivalry, it's just incredible, isn't it?
It really is. What was this, the 41st time they've played each other across IPL and CLT 20?
Something like that, yeah. The most played fixture in IPL history. It's staggering.
And MI just nudged ahead slightly in the head-to-head now. 22 wins to CSK's 19.
That's right. Every match just adds another little data point, another layer to this whole saga.
You think about the finals they've played. 2010, 2013, 2015, 2019. 4 times.
Insane. And tied on 5 titles each still. The level of sustained success from both franchises is just unmatched, really.
It creates this incredible intensity every single time they meet. Doesn't matter where they are on the table, it feels like a final.
It really does. And this win for MI was actually their first back-to-back win against CSK since CSK beat them earlier this season, back on March 23rd.
Right. So the bragging rights keep swinging back and forth, never settles for long.
Never. So, okay, let's try and summarize the key bits from this particular clash.
Go for it.
MI bowlers were really smart, used that slightly tacky Wankhede pitch very effectively.
Yep. Rohit Sharma, big positive for MI, looked much more like his old self with that unbeaten 50.
Definitely. On the CSK side, Ayush Mhatre's debut was a real highlight despite the result, looked very promising.
Agreed. But Shivam Dube's continuing struggle to sort of score quickly from the get-go remains a concern for them.
Right. And the end result was a convincing, dominant 9-wicket victory for Mumbai Indians, another chapter written.
So looking ahead then, what does this specific result mean for both teams as the season goes on? It feels significant, doesn't it?
I think it could be. For MI, it's a huge confidence booster, especially seeing Rohit fire. For CSK, maybe a bit of a wake-up call, needing to figure out how to get more impetus in those middle overs, perhaps.
Yeah, interesting dynamics. How does a win like this affect MI's momentum? How does CSK bounce back? It's fascinating to think about team morale and individual form in these big rivalry games.
Absolutely. The psychological impact can be just as important as the points on the table. So, yeah, maybe something for everyone listening to think about. Given what we saw, Rohit's return, Mhatre's emergence, Dube's ongoing questions, what does this particular match signal for MI and CSK's campaigns in IPL 2025? How might it shape their approach moving forward?
Yeah, definitely food for thought, especially knowing how much this rivalry means and how quickly things can change in the IPL. We'll just have to wait and see how it plays out until the next time they meet.
Exactly. It's never dull between these two.